Hey everyone, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I got a really good reaction from my last video, which was 11 albums that got me through dark times. And so I thought what I would do is I would put out a part 2 today because there are a lot of albums that I forgot about until after I put out the last video. My first job was selling CDs in a mall, and I liked the job, but I hated showing up to work early. For some reason, I always had a stomach ache, and I would sit there for the first hour trying to wake up, and it was just kind of sad. Nobody came into the store for the first couple hours, so I would just listen to music. And I remember putting in Wildflowers by Tom Petty. The title track came on, and all of a sudden I felt better inside. It was like my stomach ache went away, and I just started to feel more connected and warm inside. It's really a hard thing to describe. Being from Minnesota, I have a lot of local favorites, but one of the albums that got me through the toughest times in my life was called Tomorrow the Green Grass by the Jayhawks. And sometimes people listen to the album and right away they write it off. They're like, oh, this is like country or something. If they don't like country, it kind of doesn't appeal to them. But I always tell them to just listen through the entire album, and before you know it, it's gonna grow on you, and you're gonna feel good every time you sing these songs in your head, or listen to them, of course. During some of my dark times, I actually worked at another music store that sold CDs, and when Mad Season came out, I put it in right away because being a huge Lane Staley fan, I just had to hear it. And this tune came on, and I remember it set the mood in the entire store. And a lot of people know it and love it, and it starts like this. Such a beautiful riff, a lot of space inside those notes, and when the band kicks in, it just has this ultimate chill slash sad feeling to it. I have to mention the Crow soundtrack. The movie itself, I loved it. A lot of people said it was cheesy, but I saw it when I was a lot younger, so everything seemed really cool to me, and I love Brandon Lee. And, you know, the music in the movie really made it for me, though. A lot of people could relate to this album being a big part of their lives, helping them through some tough times. And I have this really twisted memory of going to watch The Crow. And on the way there, we were driving down a highway, and my friend said, yeah, just the other day, some girl was depressed in the backseat of a car, and she just opened the door and just sort of fell out and got hit by a car and died. And so for some reason that's linked up in my brain, so it adds to kind of the sad feeling I get when I think of The Crow or the Crow soundtrack. But that being said, the music still pulls me out of a dark place, and I think it's done that for a lot of people, like I said. If you know the history of the Gin Blossoms, you know there's a lot of darkness in their story as well. And this song came out at a pretty important time in my life. I remember I was feeling pretty down, and every time I would hear it, I would connect with it. It's funny because I just now know how to count in the intro. It's been a mystery my whole life, one of those things. But the song's called Until I Fall Away. And it's just one of those tunes that you can just put on the background and vibe with it. So in case you're wondering, it actually comes in on the and of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. A lot of people mention Pearl Jam's 10, and I have 3 Pearl Jam albums that helped me through dark times, but 10 was probably the main one. Vitalogy and Verses are both in that same category for me, but I'll never forget hearing Black at a particular time and having it help me through kind of a tough night. Wonder if it has the same effect on you as well. Another music store album I would play a lot is Portishead, and the album was called Dummy. And I remember listening to Glorybox all the time, just on loop, and it would weird the customers out. They'd walk in and they'd be like, what is this crazy music? It just sat with me the right way at the time, and that totally expresses and explains my mood around that period of time. And if you listen to it, you're gonna go, man, you're kind of twisted. But I completely recommend listening to this album, giving this band a chance. It might become one of your new favorite strange bands. I already talked about hating to wake up early to go to work. Well, before that, I dreaded waking up and going to school. So basically my whole life has just been me dreading waking up early. That's probably why I wake up at 2 p.m. a lot nowadays. But there was one particular summer where it was coming to an end and school was gonna start. And my friend had Steve Vai's Sex and Religion, and he loaned it to me, and I really love that song called In My Dreams with You. I'd play it over and over again, and the morning I had to go to school, I played that, and it'll always remind me of that, dreading that first day of school. But it also gives me a good feeling, because I love the song so much and that album. And there's a particular song where Devin Townsend, the singer, actually does this pig squeal. It's so crazy sounding. But anyway, if you guys know the album, you know how great it is. And if you haven't heard it, I totally recommend that you check it out. I think you're gonna have a few new favorite songs after that. I'll always tie these events together. 9/11 happened. I remember my friend coming in and telling me what was going on, and I woke up and I watched the news and I saw the towers fall and everything. And around that time, I was listening to Pete Yorn's Music for the Morning After. And it's one of those albums that every time I hear it now, I think of that tragic time and how sad I felt inside. But that music really got me through it in an interesting way. So I listened to a ton of Pete Yorn. I love the indie sound of it while still maintaining really great, catchy songs. I mean, I think one of the songs actually ended up in Dumb and Dumber, strangely. No, never mind. I think that was Me, Myself, and Irene. But either way, be sure to listen to the album from front to back. It's one of those albums where, yeah, it has a couple hits, you know, that you could just listen to, a couple one-offs, but it just works so well from front to back. All right, for this next tune, I got to crank up the reverb on the guitar, but see if you know it just from this part. It's Jeff Buckley's cover of Hallelujah. I've told my Jeff Buckley story so many times, but I'll just quickly tell you guys. I was seeing a girl who loved Jeff Buckley, and I had never heard of him before, so we went to First Avenue and watched him. And he was great, but I was kind of, you know, crossing my arms. I was jealous or something. I was so stupid. But she was just looking up at him with dreamy eyes. And so I left the concert feeling a little bit agitated, and not too much longer after that, he actually died. So, oh man, I felt so guilty for the feelings I had inside, not enjoying the concert, that I ended up buying anything I could that was Jeff Buckley related, and I became a huge fan. And if you guys could ever get and listen to the entire album of Grace, you will be a huge fan as well. I just can't see any way to listen to that album and not love it. Like I spoke about on the last video, there are times when you're in a dark place and you're not sad, but you're angry. And my boss came in and he was like, hey, have you ever heard of this band called Korn? I'm like, no, and I pictured it being spelt like C-O-R-N. I thought I said that's a corny name. Stupid dad joke back then. But anyway, I put it in and I remember hearing Blind. And not too long after that, we got the opportunity to actually roadie for this concert that had Megadeth, Korn, Fear Factory. It was incredible. But I was actually on stage when they opened with Blind. And so I remember hearing this. And then, of course, he screams, "Are you ready?" The band kicks in, the lights go on. I look out and the crowd is just like a huge wave, just jumping up and down. It was probably the most chills I ever felt on stage before for another band. Eventually, the stage tech looked at me and was like, dude, get off the stage. What are you doing up there? But for a little while there, I got to stand on stage while Korn played, and what a feeling. All right, this last one might not make any sense, but around that time when I worked at my first job selling CDs, Dream Theater came out with Awake, and Space Dive Vest, I think, connects with me the most, got me through the hardest times, but there are also some fun tunes. I mean, I play this all the time for warm-ups even. I love Erotomania. This whole album is actually very solid. Got me through that period of time and made me want to become a better guitarist at the same time, so double benefit. All right, everyone, so that's 12 more albums that got me through the darkest times of my life. Feel free to leave a comment if you didn't on the previous video and let me know which albums helped you through tough times. Like I said, I love going back and forth and seeing if there are any crossover albums. I realized that a lot of people named Jar of Flies on the last video as one of their favorite albums as well. And let's see what happens with this one. Maybe a lot of people can connect with Mad Season. That's my prediction. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you at the next video. Bye-bye.